Welcome to session number 2 of our discipleship toolkit called More Than a Buzzword. Again, my name is Nick Parsons. I serve as the college pastor of a church in Lexington, Kentucky called Centerpoint Church, and I am so excited to be with you again for session number 2. During session number 1, we dove into a really important topic called defining discipleship. That if discipleship was one of Jesus' final commands to us to go and make disciples, that it is vitally important for us to have a working definition of what discipleship is so that we can go after it with passion and with clarity. And during session number 2, we're diving into another really important topic, and that is the topic of why culture matters, the importance of a culture. We have to answer questions like, what is culture? What is culture? Like, everyone uses the word culture, but what is culture? And why is culture a primary driver of everything? Why is it a primary driver of everything? And if culture is a primary driver of everything, how do I build a culture? How do I build it? Because along with discipleship, I believe that the word and the idea of culture has become a buzzword in our society. But culture is vitally important. Everything we do and who we are flows from the culture that we build. See, culture is the primary driver of our ministries because it is who we are. You see, culture is not just who we say we are. It's easy to say we're a lot of things. Culture is not just who we say we are. Culture is who we actually are. Culture is the practices that we actually have. Culture is the environment we actually have. Culture is what would bleed if we would cut open our ministry. Culture is what would flow out of us. Cultures can be healthy. Cultures can be unhealthy. Cultures have to do with leadership and ministry practices and mission and vision and direction and so much more. But culture is also something that you have to build, and culture is something that you have to maintain. And so I think it's important for us to ask, why is culture important to be successful in discipleship? Why is culture important to be successful in discipleship? Well, culture helps us identify what is expected, and it shows us the path forward. Culture helps us identify what's expected and shows us the path forward. That when you build a culture of discipleship, one, it shows people what's expected of them. It shows people what's expected of them. Two, there's excitement around discipleship and the spiritual growth that it brings, that it just seems to be contagious. And third, it helps you plug people in faster and at a more effective rate. And we know this to be true. That's why we build serving cultures. You know, if I can just build a culture where people see the value of serving and engage in it, and there's opportunities to do it, and we champion it, then people are going to serve. That if we build a leadership culture where we talk about the value of leadership a lot, and we create opportunities for it, and we push people there, and we model it, that we're going to create a leadership culture. We know this to be true. We just can't forget about discipleship cultures. That our culture, that who we are, shows us what's important to us. And more than that, it shows others what we believe is actually important. It shows them what we believe is really important. And discipleship culture helps us be focused on people over programs. People over programs. That God has called us to a mission. And that mission is people, more than just getting people to show up to our thing. It helps us keep the main thing. Because the goal cannot simply be to get people to attend an event. The goal has to be spiritual growth. The goal has to be discipleship. The goal is genuine next steps with Jesus. That's home plate. We can hit singles all day, but if we never get home plate, we always lose the game. And a healthy, directed, vision-oriented culture is inspiring, and it brings clarity as we build. You know, 1 Corinthians 3, Paul calls us to be skilled master builders, and that includes building culture. And I think there's a lot of benefits of culture. I think there's the benefit of alignment, that when we build a culture, everyone seems to be aligned and going the right direction. They know what we're about. They know why we're here. They know what we're doing. It also brings clarity, that there's no confusion about what we're about what we're doing, about what we're trying to accomplish. It also brings consistency. Culture brings consistency, that it allows us to do things consistently. You know, Craig Groeschel says that great leaders do consistently what others do occasionally. And this is why building culture is so important. Next, it brings focus. It brings focus. There's so many things that could distract us from going after the mission and the vision that God has given us. But when we build a culture of discipleship, it keeps us focused and going the right direction. And I think that's the last benefit of culture, is the idea of direction. Again, there are so many things that we could focus on. There's so many different directions we can go. But when we build a culture of discipleship, it allows us to go the right direction. And so I think we have to take time and we have to ask, how do we build a culture of discipleship then? How do we build a culture? Well, one, you have to identify your current culture. You have to identify the good things and you have to identify the bad things, because good leaders define and live in reality. And you have to know, what is our current culture? Even if it's an answer that you don't like, what is our current culture? And then second, you have to define who you want to be. It's not good enough just to identify who you are. We have to identify who we want to be. And then we have to clearly communicate it with passion. We have to get up on stage, get in front of people, get in front of our leadership teams, and clearly communicate who we are and who we want to be with passion. This is who we are, but this is who we could be, and this is who we should be. And then you got to display it in everyday activities. Hang those posters, create those events, gather those leaders. You build culture through everyday activities. And then you have to defend it rigorously. You can't do everything. Like, there are going to be things as you build a culture that you have to say no to, and you have to defend this rigorously. You have to create opportunities to engage in it. You have to create opportunities for people to be discipled, for them to disciple others. And then you got to reach the freshman class and empower the upperclassmen. You got to reach the freshman class and empower the upperclassmen with vision. You got to utilize people. You have to utilize people. And there are several vehicles of culture building. One is like leadership passion. This really helps you build culture. That what you're passionate about will affect what other people are passionate about. And so we have to ask the question, are we passionate about discipleship? Are we discipling? Are we helping people grow? Because if we're not doing it, no one else is ever going to do it. No matter how much we talk about it, no matter how much we teach to it, we have to have leadership passion. We have to use our gatherings and the events that we already have to focus our ministry in people. We have to train people. We have to empower people. We have to teach people. We have to call people up to it. That this is a sacrifice of time, but this is a worthy sacrifice of time. We have to call people up to it. We have to apply it to our mission and our vision. Most of us already have a mission statement. We already have a vision statement. The idea and the command of discipleship should fit somewhere into those mission and vision statements. That the idea of discipleship is not just a great suggestion, it's a great command. And so we have to apply it to our mission and our vision. We have to use our teams. We have to use our systems. We have to establish common practices, develop people. We have to live it out, and we have to pray for it often. But here's what I know, that as we build cultures of discipleship, when we come back in 10, 20, 30, 40 years, because the ministry that God has given us is not ours, it's His. And so when we come back in 10, 20, 30, 40 years, we're going to be able to see the fruit of what God used us to help build. And that's going to be an incredible day as we get to see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of students being transformed by the gospel and being trained to be disciples of Christ. Culture matters. And so I think we have to ask the question, what kind of culture are we building?